Okay, so these are things that we're going to have to remember for the AP2 exam for the digestive system. So some things you're going to want to know: the path of food, the accessory organ systems, parts of the small and large intestine, what would happen if certain parts were removed, the order of the gallbladder, the epiglottis, what it does, where it's at, the purpose that it serves, okay, the different cells and which one has intrinsic factors, disaccharides, lipids, fats, carbs. I really am only going to be going further into carbs, disaccharides, um, but there is going to be a little note on lipids and fats, but also do some of your own research on that. Also, make sure to finish your study guide. Ducts near the gallbladder and secretin. Once again, this is not all inclusive. This is like a shorter version of crash course specific to WGU's going. So we have the mouth. So obviously your food enters in through your mouth. That's where the chemical digestion process begins. It goes into your pharynx, past your epiglottis, and into your esophagus. After that, it comes on down and it hits the cranial part of the stomach, and then it hits the fundal part of the stomach, and then it starts to be digested. But if the broccoli were to move the way it is moving in this picture, it would definitely not be digested. You're probably wondering, what does the liver have to do, stomach, kidneys, and large intestine have to do with this? I just want you to get an idea of where these are at. So, for example, the liver, quad, it has four parts to the liver. The stomach is inferior to the liver, and so forth. So make sure you understand where everything is at. So take a pause and write down using medical terminology where everything is located. Same thing here. You're going to want to know where everything is located. So then we see, we have our small intestines, the bladder, rectum, anus. These are our accessory organs. So the salivary glands are in the mouth. They moisten and lubricate food and begin the breakdown of carbohydrates. Liver is the liver metabolizes micronutrients, carbs, proteins, fats. Again, make a little note for carbs, proteins, fats. That's what the liver helps metabolize, those macronutrients. Macro, large. Macro is large. Micro is microscope, think small. Right? It produces bile and helps detoxify the body. The gallbladder stores that bile. It's a yellow-green fluid which helps digest and absorb fats. The pancreas secretes enzymes and hormones such as insulin that help with digestion and the use of carbs and proteins and fats. Another thing to write down, take note, remember HEPA. Anytime you hear the word HEPA, hepatitis, HEPA this, HEPA that, think liver. HEPA, liver, pancreas, pancreatic, right? So here are the salivary glands. For this, there's a lot of information here, but what I want you to understand is where they are located. So for example, the parotoid gland. There's a lot of these words that I personally struggle with pronouncing. Don't feel bad if you are like me. A lot of times I just spell them out. Let me ask you about the parotid gland. Okay, so just know where those are at, where they're located at. Okay. For this one, I want you to make sure that you understand the different digestive system functions. So this is what the digestive system functions at. Ingestion, what is that? Ingesting food begins in the oral cavity. Mastication, another thing to remember here is the master muscle. Master, think munch, and that's the one responsible for helping with chewing. Munching, chewing, master muscle, mastication. Okay. Digestion is the mechanical and chemical breakdown of food and liquids. It's the mechanical and chemical breakdown of food and liquids. Secretion of enzymes, acids, and buffers. Absorption, what is that? Where does that take place? So I want you to start thinking, where are all these things happening, right? Absorption is the assimilation of nutrients into the blood and lymph. Compaction is the uptake of water and condensing of indigestible components. Defecation is the elimination of waste from the body. So it's defecation. So where does chemical digestion begin? Chemical digestion begins in the salivary glands that secrete saliva into the mouth. Most saliva is made of H2O, water, and it's actually chemical digestion begins in the mouth. You have that salivary amylase in the mouth, and that makes that bolus. The bolus is just a fancy word for a big ball of food. Uh, And the esophageal sphincter is what prevents gastric reflux from happening. So all that coming back up. So just be mindful of that. Here's the path of food. You have the mouth and then you have the pharynx. So one thing I want to say here, when you go into the mouth, pharynx before larynx, okay? Larynx, think L for lungs. So if it's going to go into the pharynx, it can then go to the esophagus or the larynx, right? Through the epiglottis. So let's say you're breathing in, goes through your mouth, your pharynx, the epiglottis, and then it will go to the larynx, lungs. But in this case, we're talking about the path of food, so it's going to go to the esophagus. I put a crown on the stomach because the top part of the stomach is called the coronal part. And you have the small intestine, the large intestine, and the anus. Here we have DJ small intestine. So don't forget the small intestines order. DJI, duodenum. That processes iron and it's the shortest portion. The jejunum is in the middle and most of the nutrients are processed here. And the ileum helps absorb B12 and goes into the large intestine. Why does that matter? Take a pause and tell me what would happen if the duodenum was missing, if the jejunum was missing, if the ileum was missing, and what about the large intestine? What would happen if the large intestine was missing? Well, sometimes if the large intestine is missing, if there's portions of it missing, they can just kind of together. Otherwise, you might need a bad to be able to defecate or to pass stool. But I want you to understand DJI. Let's not forget him. And another part that we need to remember is what comes before DJI. Does anybody know what comes before DJI? The pyloric sphincter, the junction between the stomach and the small intestine. The pyloric sphincter. Okay, so think of this big sphinx kind of protecting the party at a pyramid. Big sphinx. They're about to have a party inside this pyramid with DJI, and there's a big sphinx there, pyloric sphincter at the junction, at the middle, right, between the stomach and the small intestine. And DJI always wants to party. He's always ready. So the large intestine, I really like this little picture that I made. So I'm really hoping that you guys can still see it, even though like my little recording is on there. Uh, okay, so I basically thought of Sigmund Freud because we are trying to get from the cecum to the Sigmund colon. How do we get there? So Sigmund Freud is going to go into his cart, which is C for cart, cecum, and it ascends up. Think about when you go on a roller coaster, what is happening? You're going up. And then you might hit this transverse part. You might hit a train, what I put there. Then you're going to go, whoo, you're going to descend down and you're going to get to the Sigmund Freud, to the Sigmund colon. So you're going to go up, transverse, descend, Sigmund colon. And it all starts at the cart, the C for cecum cart. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This is important. You need to understand that the left and right hepatic duct and the cystic duct is up and it goes into the gallbladder. So when a signal is sent, it's going to release that back down and empty through the common bile duct, and that's going to exit into the duodenum and it will go into the small intestine. So the common bile duct fuses with the pancreatic duct. That's a hepapancreatic. Remember when I said hepa? Anytime you hear hepa, that's the liver, pancreatic, pancreas. So what ducts are merging there? What do you think is merging? Daisious teeth. These are so cute. Oh my goodness. What are our Daisious teeth and how many of them do we have? Pop quiz. We have 20 Daisious teeth. That means your baby teeth, they're going to fall out so you can have grown up teeth, big girl teeth. And what are those teeth for? We all know ladies love our carbs. So we are going to be eating up all of these carbs. Okay. And carbs are minimally digested in the mouth. Carb is a sugar molecule that's broken down into pancreatic amylase and disaccharides and monosaccharides. So the starch and breaking down into smaller pieces, the disaccharides, that's think of dice, two dice, right? Di, dice, that's two sugar molecules bound together chemically. Monosaccharides, mono means one, so that's one sugar molecule that is broken off. So mono one, disaccharides two. So that's what's going on with the carbs. Copy that. So take a pause here, copy these down, understand the difference of the cells. Parietal cells make hydrochloric acid. They're in the walls of the stomach. They also make intrinsic factors. You might wonder, what is an intrinsic factor? That's actually the name of the protein that binds B12. It is literally called intrinsic factor. Okay, so the gastric cells, they secrete gastrin releasing peptides and they're different from the endocrine cells. Okay. And so these chief cells secrete pepsin to the help protein. The G cells secrete the gastric hormones, and the mucus neck cells secrete thin mucus that helps the stomach from digesting itself. So here we have a better visual of at least the last three. We have the chief. He secretes pepsin. He has Pepsi on his mind. You have the gastric G cells, which also have a fancy big name that I wrote down here. Enteroendocrine cells. Spell it out because these are one of those words where I'm gonna spell this. This is one of them. Enteroendocine cells. In case you're writing it down, go ahead and look at the PowerPoint. Go ahead and hit pause if you need to. But those are also known as G cells. On your study guide, they're written in that big E word, and they secrete gastric hormones. Then you have the mucus neck cells here, and that secretes thin mucus that helps the stomach from digesting itself. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to go through all of your course content, finish your study guide, review the videos right before the OA, meet with your professor if needed, as often as needed, take notes, and review your notes. Be confident in the Lord and pass your test. Once again, these are the scriptures that I am personally standing on. I'm not going to go through them, but you can go ahead and take a pause. And it's Job 32, verse 8, and the one on the bottom can also be found there in the scripture in Psalms. Okay, so with God's help, I can advance and scale a wall. So with God's help, I can scale a wall, and God is going to give me wisdom and understanding because I already have it and it's mine, and I receive it in Jesus' name. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I am going to be uploading this next week 3 brand new videos, 3 of them that I have been working on. So thank you so much for your patience. It's just been a little bit of a week, but I have 3 left that I'm working on finishing, and I should have them up at the end of this week. So make sure you like, share, subscribe. God bless you guys.